chosen one. What is approaching you does not require you to strain any harder, because the new door will not be opened by your efforts to control everything, but by your ability to pause and allow peace to restore order to what has remained confused within you for far too long. Before you think about the next step, before you rush to find an answer or try to predict what the future may bring, I want you to stop running. I do not mean that you should stop living or abandon your responsibilities. I mean that you must end the chase that continually tells you that you need to be faster, stronger, and more capable before you deserve to rest. Allow the noise outside you to move farther away for a moment. Breathe in slowly, breathe out gently, and allow your shoulders to lower. Archangel Michael, my faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, remains an image of the courage that knows how to preserve what is sacred within silence. Yet I myself am speaking directly to you. You do not need to create a special state in order for me to draw near. You only need to be honestly present, even when that presence is filled with weariness. I know you have become accustomed to receiving everything, while your mind is divided in many directions. You listen while thinking about work, pray while worrying about tomorrow, and attempt to rest while mentally arranging hundreds of unfinished responsibilities. Therefore, even when your body lies down, something within you continues running. You believe you are resting, but in reality, you have merely changed the location of your anxiety. I do not condemn you for this, because there were seasons when you had to remain alert in order to survive. You needed to remember many things, care for many people, and continually prepare for situations no one else could see. Yet what once helped you survive does not need to become the way you live forever. I am teaching you to distinguish between responsibility and tension, between awareness and continually expecting something terrible to happen. You can care without constantly being afraid. You can prepare without controlling everything. You can love without carrying the entirety of another person's life upon your shoulders. The silence into which I am inviting you is not empty. It carries the gentle sound of things returning to their rightful places. Within it is the rhythm of the breathing you once forgot to hear, the emotions buried beneath busyness, and questions that do not require immediate answers. You have become so accustomed to doing something in order to prove that you are progressing, that sitting still causes you to feel guilty. You fear that if you stop, others will move ahead, opportunities will disappear, or everything you have built will collapse. Yet, my beloved, a life that can survive only while you continually hold it together through force is not truly stable. What is sustainable must contain room for you to breathe, sleep, become weak, and receive help. I do not call you into peace as a reward after every task has been completed. I want peace to become the foundation from which you carry out what needs to be done with a clearer heart. I want to begin with the exhaustion you have hidden so carefully. Some weariness comes from work, but another kind is deeper, born from continually trying to explain yourself to people who never truly wanted to understand. You chose every word carefully, told your story from many different angles, and tried to make your experience appear reasonable in their eyes. You thought that if you explained it just one more time, they would recognize that you were not pretending, exaggerating, or inventing what you were going through. Yet every word fell into a cold emptiness. They listened in order to answer, not to understand. They saw your difference and quickly called it error. They did not know how long you had prayed, reflected, and struggled before speaking. Their indifference, therefore, caused you to begin doubting yourself. You once carried something very real within you. But because it was not received, you began to believe that perhaps it possessed no value. You looked at the reactions of others and used them as a measurement for what I had placed within you. When they did not understand, you assumed you were wrong. When they mocked you, you began diminishing your voice. When they questioned your motives, you worked even harder to prove your sincerity. Yet, my beloved, a seed does not become worthless merely because the person standing before it cannot recognize the garden it may become. Some things require time before their fruit can be seen. Some people can only understand you after they have walked through a similar journey. Others may never understand, not because you failed to explain well enough, but because they do not want to step outside the framework that makes them feel safe. I do not want you to continue exhausting yourself, trying to turn everyone into someone who approves of you. Some things become smaller the more you explain them. Some experiences can only be protected through silence, allowed to mature privately, and proven through the fruit of a life lived faithfully over time. You do not need to tell everyone what I am doing within you. Not everyone possesses the capacity to protect what you entrust to them. Some will turn your honesty into a subject of gossip. Some will use the weakness you shared against you during a future argument. Others may not be intentionally cruel, but they do not yet possess the depth required to understand what you are protecting. Discernment is not the same as distrusting everyone. It means knowing what should be shared, with whom it should be shared, and at what time. Even an open heart needs doors with hinges and locks. I have seen you leave moments of deep prayer, carrying a fragile but precious understanding, only to speak about it too quickly, because you longed for someone to affirm you before it had time to take root. When the listener responded with doubt, you felt as though what you received had been contaminated. You returned questioning whether you had imagined everything and whether the original piece was only a temporary emotion. I do not condemn you for wanting companionship. Everyone needs someone who knows how to listen. Yet from this point forward, I want you to learn how to protect what is still young. A newly sprouted plant does not need to be placed in a strong wind to prove that it is alive. It needs soil, water, light, and time. The new things within you need the same. Allow them to grow through discipline, prayer, reflection, and practical action before demanding that the world give them a name. Silence does not mean becoming distant or closed. It is the place where you learn to speak the right words at the right time. You once spoke too much because you were afraid of being misunderstood, and afterward you regretted giving away something that should have been protected. Remember that those who genuinely desire to understand will not force you to defend your existence continually. They may ask questions and may not agree with everything, but they will still respect you. They will not constantly interrupt, use your vulnerability to elevate themselves, or require you to perform your pain before they believe you. Be grateful for people like this and care for those relationships. When facing people who only want to win an argument, you do not need to enter every conversation. Sometimes, peace is preserved through a brief response. Sometimes, wisdom is shown by leaving a conversation without proving who was right. You have become tired of defending your calling before people who do not possess the foundation needed to recognize it. Yet, I want you to reconsider what that calling means. It is not merely a great mission or something that makes you appear special in the eyes of others. Your calling first appears in the way you live when no one is watching. It is honesty in your work, patience with your family, the courage to admit when you are wrong, and the determination not to pass your pain to innocent people. If what you believe is genuine, its results will gradually become visible. You will become humbler, kinder, wiser, and more trustworthy. You do not need to win every argument in order to protect what I placed within you. A tree does not argue about whether it possesses life. It quietly establishes its roots, grows, and bears fruit in the proper season. There are accusations for which you have spent years preparing an answer. You remained awake, arranging every detail and imagining the day when you would explain everything so clearly that they would finally understand. Yet when the opportunity came, regardless of how calmly or reasonably you spoke, they continued believing what they had already decided. In that moment, you realized that there are courtrooms in the minds of others where you will never receive a fair hearing. You cannot spend your entire life defending yourself before people who formed their conclusions in advance. I invite you to leave that room. You do not need to carry the sentence they placed upon you. Examine yourself honestly. Admit the part in which you were genuinely wrong. Repair what can be repaired, and then release the rest. When an accusation contains no truth, your peace does not need to continue paying the price of resisting it. I know this is not easy because you want your honor restored. You want the person who misunderstood you to recognize the truth. You hope that one day they will apologize and admit that they judged too quickly. This may happen, but it may not. I do not want your healing to remain delayed until another person changes. You can become free before they understand. You can move forward before they accept responsibility. You can live uprightly without returning to explain every achievement. Allow time, consistency, and your way of living to speak in place of the defenses you once prepared. When you are no longer compelled to correct everyone's opinion, a great amount of energy will return to you. You can use it to care for your health, build your work, nurture your family, and serve those who are truly willing to receive. Wariness also comes from leaving a deep place of prayer and immediately speaking about what should have been protected. There were moments when you had just touched peace, yet one careless conversation pulled you back into confusion. Do not continue blaming yourself for this. Learn from it. From now on, after your heart becomes still, you do not need to rush into action. Remain there a little longer. Write down what you understood. Examine whether it leads you toward responsibility, love, and clarity. If an impulse makes you hurried, self-important, or eager to prove that you are special, patiently examine it again. What comes from me is not afraid of time. Truth can endure examination. You do not need to give every feeling a name immediately, my beloved. You believed silence was a place where nothing happened. Yet many of the most important things are formed there. In silence, you recognize who you are angry with, what you fear, and whose approval you are trying to obtain. In silence, mixed motives gradually become visible, not to shame you, but so that they may be purified. You may recognize that you pursued something good for reasons that were not entirely healthy. You wanted success, but deep within you also wanted those who dismissed you to regret it. You wanted to serve, but sometimes you also longed to be seen as indispensable. I do not condemn you for these things. I simply invite you to lay them down, so that what you do may be born from love rather than from a wound. When you stop forcing everything, you will not become passive. You will simply change the source of your strength. Instead of acting from fear of being left behind, you will act from understanding what needs to be done. Instead of accepting every opportunity because you fear another may never come, you will consider what aligns with your values and limitations. Instead of trying to accomplish everything in one day, you will learn to remain faithful to small steps. The rest I teach you is not an escape from work. It is the ability to work without turning achievement into your identity. You will remain devoted, but you will know how to stop. You will continue loving, but you will not erase yourself. You will continue pursuing goals, but you will no longer interpret every obstacle as a judgment against you. If you experience prolonged exhaustion, do not merely call it a spiritual trial and continue enduring it. Examine your sleep, work, relationships, and the responsibilities you have accepted. Is there something that needs to be shared? Did you make a promise when you did not possess the capacity to fulfill it? Is there an environment continually causing you anxiety? Seek appropriate support when necessary. I do not ask you to use prayer in place of caring for yourself. Often wisdom comes through speaking honestly with someone trustworthy, meeting a qualified professional, or asking another person to carry part of the responsibility with you. You have not failed because you need help. You are simply acknowledging that you are human, possess limitations, and were created to live through mutual support. My beloved, there are things I have placed within you that need to grow quietly before being brought beneath the gaze of the world. This is not because they are shameful, nor because you must distrust everyone around you, but because every seed needs a quiet place to establish roots before it becomes strong enough to face the wind. I know you have often wanted to explain the desire stirring within you, wanted your loved ones to understand why you could no longer continue living as before, why certain dreams suddenly became so important, and why you felt drawn toward a road others could not yet see. The desire to be understood is natural. Yet, Archangel Michael, my faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, reminds you of the courage required to stand guard over what is still young. Not every door needs to be opened immediately. Not everyone needs permission to enter the private room where I am preparing you. Not everything true within you must be spoken in order to possess value. You have brought your calling before people who were incapable of understanding it and left the conversation feeling more confused than when it began. Before speaking, you possessed clarity, even though you could not explain everything completely. Yet, after hearing their doubts, mockery, or immediate list of reasons why you should not continue, what once felt alive became dim. You began using their limitations to evaluate your capacity. You wondered whether you had imagined too much, become overly confident, or grown too different. I want you to understand that the reactions of others are not always a trustworthy measure of whether what you are carrying is right. Some people are not against you. They have simply never traveled a similar road, and therefore lack the language to understand. Some love you, but their fear is stronger than their ability to encourage. Some interpret every decision through the failures they once experienced and unintentionally place those limitations upon your future. You do not need to be angry with them, but you must stop giving authority to guide you to those who cannot see beyond their own experience. I am not asking you to reject all counsel. A genuinely good idea still needs examination, and a plan still needs information, advice, and practical preparation. Humility means knowing that you may be wrong and remaining willing to adjust. Yet wisdom also means choosing who is permitted to speak into an idea during its earliest stage. Seek people who possess experience and sincerity and who are not threatened by your growth. The right person will not praise everything you say, but neither will they rush to destroy it. They may ask difficult questions, point out what remains unclear, and help you recognize risks. Yet after the conversation, you will still feel respected and possess greater clarity. The wrong person will force you to spend most of the conversation defending your value rather than examining the plan together. Learn to recognize this difference. Some visions need to be written before they are spoken. When you place an idea upon paper, you can distinguish what is only temporary emotion from what continues returning after many days. Take time to ask why you desire it, whom it will serve, which responsibilities accompany it, and what preparation it requires. Something born from love will gradually make you more responsible rather than merely excite you about the recognition you may receive. It will motivate you to study, organize, practice discipline, and remain faithful to small responsibilities. If you enjoy talking about a plan, but resist the quiet labor required to build it, perhaps you love the feeling of being seen more than you love the mission itself. I do not say this to shame you, but to purify your motives. What is genuine does not fear patience. Time will make it clearer and stronger. I also see another impulse within you. Whenever you are misunderstood, misrepresented, or treated unfairly, you feel compelled to answer immediately. This feeling does not resemble a calm decision. It is more like a force pulling you until you cannot rest without saying everything in your mind. You lie down while mentally rehearsing your response. You imagine the conversation, arrange every piece of evidence, edit each sentence, and long for the moment when you can leave them without an answer. Even when a quieter part of you says that you should wait. The fear of being misunderstood pushes you toward action. I know why. Perhaps in the past, people reached conclusions about you without listening. Perhaps you remained silent and later watched others use that silence as evidence against you. Therefore, every false statement about you now touches an old wound and makes you want to regain control immediately. Yet, my beloved, not every statement deserves your energy. Some misunderstandings need clarification, especially when they affect innocent people, your work, your reputation, or your responsibilities. In these situations, speak the truth clearly, offer evidence, and avoid insulting language. Yet other arguments involve someone who is not searching for truth. They only want reaction, conflict, or confirmation of their prejudice. If you enter, you will have to fight in a room where the rules continually change and every answer is distorted. Silence in that situation is not cowardice. It is your refusal to surrender peace to a conversation without goodwill. You do not need to win before everyone for truth to remain true. Before responding, give yourself room to breathe. Do not send a message while your heart is racing, your hands are shaking, or your mind only wants to make the other person hurt as they have hurt you. Write your reply, but do not send it yet. Take a walk, drink water, and sleep on it if the circumstances allow. Then read it again and ask, will these words clarify the truth, or are they merely releasing anger? Will they protect something important? Or am I only trying to win? After speaking, will I still be able to stand in peace? You will discover sentences that need revision, passages that should be deleted, and occasions when no answer is necessary. This pause does not weaken you. It restores your power to choose so that others can no longer control you simply by provoking a reaction. Michael represents disciplined strength. A sword used wisely is not raised at every sound. It protects only what genuinely needs protection. You must do the same. Preserve your voice for what matters. When you respond to everything, your words gradually lose their weight. When you learn to choose your battles, others will recognize that when you speak, you have reflected and possess something worth hearing. You do not need to become cold. You can still say that you were hurt, require respect, or correct false information. Yet speak from self-control rather than from a wound that is still bleeding. One statement spoken from peace is often stronger than many words spoken in anger. There is another thing you have often regretted: speaking about plans too early, when they existed only as a fragile shape within your heart. You became excited, believed a new season was beginning, and wanted to share it with those you loved. Yet after speaking, what once felt clear suddenly became small. Their questions caused doubt. Their indifference weakened your motivation. Sometimes you received praise so early that your mind felt as though the task had already been completed. Even though you had not yet begun, you received the emotional reward of talking about what you intended to do, and the energy needed to perform it gradually disappeared. I do not condemn your joy. I am simply teaching you that not every beginning needs an audience. Some plans need to be nurtured privately until they possess a foundation. Allow action to come before announcement. If you want to write the first pages before telling everyone that you are creating a book. If you want to change your work, learn the necessary skills, prepare your application, and examine opportunities before informing everyone. If you want to heal a relationship, begin with a sincere conversation rather than a dramatic declaration. If you want to change yourself, practice during the days when no one is watching. When something new has established roots, another person's opinion will not easily remove it from you. They may still fail to understand, but your practical experience will help you know why you need to continue. Privacy is not superstition, as though another person's words possess magical power to destroy your future. A plan does not fail simply because you mentioned it, and another person's doubt cannot automatically erase something good. What often changes is your own mind. You begin comparing, seeking approval, or allowing outside questions to confuse an understanding that has not yet matured. Therefore, if you shared too early, do not panic and assume everything has been ruined. Return to the work before you. Put down your phone, stop checking reactions, and complete the next small step. The life of a plan does not depend upon absolute secrecy, but upon preparation, practicality, and your faithfulness. You need to distinguish between protection and isolation. I am not calling you to conceal everything, reject all support, or believe that no one can be trusted. Important plans still need professionals, collaborators, and people who can recognize your blind spots. Yet you do not need a crowd. One or two mature, discreet, and sincere people are often worth more than many words of admiration. Choose those who do not turn your story into their own story. Do not quickly repeat what was private, and do not compete with your progress. A trustworthy person will help you preserve both hope and realism. They will neither exaggerate you into someone incapable of failure, nor drag you down through pessimism. I know the loneliness of carrying something you cannot yet reveal. Sometimes you wish that someone would understand immediately without requiring explanation. You desire someone who can look into your eyes and say that they see what you see. Yet, this hidden season may teach you to stand firmly without depending upon approval. If you only continue while receiving encouragement, you will remain easily controlled by another person's mood. When you learn to work in silence, you begin discovering which motivations genuinely belong to you. You no longer act in order to receive questions or praise. You act because the work aligns with the values, responsibilities, and love I have placed within you. Even so, be careful that privacy does not become pride. Do not begin imagining that you carry secrets so profound that no one is capable of understanding. Sometimes people do not understand because you have not explained clearly. The plan contains many weaknesses, or you are so captivated by the idea that you have failed to see the risks. Preserve enough humility to receive feedback at the proper time. What must be protected is not your ego, but the process of growth. When advice is supported by evidence, offered with goodwill, and helps you avoid a serious mistake, receive it gratefully. I do not want you to use spiritual language to reject every correction. A genuine calling does not make you immune to counsel. It makes you more responsible for learning. You also need to release the obsession with being completely understood. No one on earth can enter every room within you. Even those who love you most possess limitations. They may understand one part, accompany you for one section, and still not feel everything in exactly the way you do. This does not make their love false. Give others permission not to understand everything while still deserving respect. At the same time, you do not need to remain in relationships where your experience is continually mocked or denied. There is a difference between someone who does not yet understand but remains willing to listen, and someone who refuses to understand because your truth inconveniences them. Be patient with the first. Limit what you offer to the second. When you are misrepresented, remember that honor is not protected only through verbal defense, but also through the way you live over time. People may believe a rumor for a while, but consistency gradually reveals what is true. Perform your work with integrity, keep your promises, admit when you are wrong, and refuse manipulative revenge. Time does not correct every misunderstanding, but it helps you recognize what is worth continuing to care about. Some people will change their perspective. Others will hold on to their prejudice. Peace begins when you understand that you are not responsible for controlling every thought others have about you. You are responsible only for living in such a way that your conscience does not need to hide from the truth. Forgive those whose careless words caused your calling to become smaller within you. Perhaps they spoke from fear, envy, or their own limitations. Forgiveness does not mean continuing to share everything with them. It means refusing to carry their voice into every decision. When an old statement says that you cannot succeed, ask whether it possesses evidence. If you genuinely lack a skill, learn it. If the statement is only an unsupported conclusion, release it. You do not need to oppose it through anger. Answer it through preparation and action. Then forgive yourself for sharing too soon, reacting too quickly, or spending too many years explaining yourself. You did these things because you wanted to be understood and desired to protect what was precious, not because you were foolish. Now that you have received new understanding, use it to live differently rather than to condemn your former self. When you react impulsively, apologize and correct it. When you share too much, return to the work and continue building. When you realize that someone is not the right person to hear something, adjust the boundary without creating unnecessary conflict. Maturity often consists of calm corrections such as these. From this day forward, allow some things to grow between you and me. Write them down, pray, research, and turn them into practical steps. Ask what must be done this week, rather than merely dreaming about the day when everyone sees the result. Protect your working hours from noise. Do not announce every small step in order to receive motivation from outside reactions. Give yourself permission to rejoice in quiet progress. Completed work, a habit preserved, and a right decision possess value, even when they are never publicly displayed. When you are provoked, learn the art of waiting. Not everything needs to be resolved within the same day. You may say, "I need time to think before I answer." You can leave the room, arrange another time for the conversation, or choose not to continue when respect has disappeared. The pause is where I help you distinguish the voice of dignity from the voice of wounded pride. Dignity desires truth to become clear. Wounded pride only wants the other person to lose. Dignity can speak firmly without humiliating. Wounded pride often says too much and leaves regret behind. Choose the response that will allow you to look back upon yourself with peace, my beloved. Silence does not cause your calling to disappear. It can help that calling find its proper form. You do not need to remain hidden forever. There will be a time to speak, share, and invite others to build with you. Yet when that time comes, your words will no longer carry only a fragile feeling. They will be accompanied by preparation, evidence, humility, and a foundation that has been tested. Then, even when others disagree, you will not be easily shaken, because you will no longer depend upon approval in order to believe that you need to continue. Move forward with the calm strength Michael reminds you to preserve. You do not need to fight everyone. Explain yourself to every observing eye, or bring what is still young before a crowd. Speak when your words serve the truth. Remain silent when argument only nourishes more chaos. Share with those who have proven trustworthy. Protect what still needs time. Above all, live in such a way that what you believe becomes visible through kindness, discipline, responsibility, and the way you treat others. I am with you in what cannot yet be announced, in the plans still taking shape, and in the moments when you must put down your phone so that you do not respond from pain. Allow peace to become the gatekeeper. Whatever passes through that gate must be worthy of your strength, time, and attention. You no longer need to scatter yourself everywhere in order to be understood. Gather your energy, care for what I have entrusted to you, and build patiently. At the proper time, you will not need to shout in order to prove anything. What has matured in private will carry its own voice, and healthy results will speak more clearly than every defense you once prepared in exhaustion.